Hello folks, so yeah, the stream, my computer blue screened, which was the problem we had last time, but hopefully I can fix it in a moment. Just give me 1 sec to set everything up and we'll be back on as before.
If you would like to email the show, please email showx@vtwproductions.com.
That was not the email stick I planned to use, but there you have it. I was expecting Copy's cute voice coming through there, and it did not. That was strange. Sorry about that, folks. Blue screen of death. I will see if I can ask YouTube nicely to try and stitch these two different separate episodes together, because they are the same one in the end. So, we were talking about... let me put my other headphone back in here. I don't like hearing myself too much. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm too loud. There we go. Okay, back to normal levels. Okay, so, yes, ShowX, VT Productions, all that stuff. Right, hello. Okay, so we were talking about, the socialist light healthcare. However, I did just notice that the IRC actually had some other chat in there that I forgot to mention before. Greyfield was saying that at one point Canada's wildfires are mostly done now, but at one point smoke from the western fires covered the whole country. We're really good at evacuating people and keeping them out of harm's way. That's good, that's really important, especially considering Canada has people all over the place. I mean, mostly the southern border. I think it's 98% of people are like within like 100 miles from the very bottom American border. But there are still a large number of people elsewhere, right? That's still tens of thousands elsewhere. So it's good that you guys are good at doing that. Thank you for welcoming me back. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So the socialist light stuff. I was saying that pensioners really struggle to survive during these times due to the fact that it is a difficult time for them. Sorry, let me fiddle with this a bit more. It's a very difficult time for pensioners to try and survive the winter because of the extremely high prices of energy. And so instead of actually putting on the heating, what they'll do is they'll wrap themselves up in blankets and eventually fall asleep. And what happens is the temperature drops and it plummets further, and their already weak and frail immune system from being in the cold all winter eventually fails them and they get sick. Alright, and then either they pass away that night or they pass away in the coming weeks from the flu. And that's a recurring, repeating problem in the UK, and especially in Scotland. And so this is one of the attempts to try and tackle that, as well as the general inequalities in income and wealth and the ability to heat your own home. It's kind of a bare minimum, right? Personally, I think we maybe one day we'll be getting to a level where we have an understanding that if people want to heat their home and every single room in it, they should pay extra, because you don't need to heat the rooms you're not in, for example. And perhaps we can have a more efficient system where we properly time our heating to come on in certain rooms at certain times, and we properly insulate our homes, and we can save the world a lot of green energy and carbon footprint, as well as saving some money for the residents as well. If we can have a way of properly customizing our energy systems to say, hey, I'm not home during the day, only put on the bare minimum to keep the pipes from freezing, you know? Just do that. But when I get home, an hour before, turn it on. But only for these rooms, because I don't go into my office except for on weekends or whatever, right? That'd be useful. That'd be really nice. Same with energy, we should be able to do it with electricity. I don't use the bathroom except for when I'm not at work, right? So when I'm at work, turn off the energy to the bathroom. No reason having my shower on, for example, right? That kind of thing could save us a lot of money and a lot of energy, I think. So that's one of the things going on just now. Now, one of the arguments I've heard against this, which I never really considered before, I thought the socialist reform of energy was good. Even though it was going to screw over the actual energy companies out there right now, I wasn't that bothered because, generally speaking, you know, it's a capitalist company where the CEO walks away with a giant amount of money while people are dying due to not being able to afford heating, you know? I can't feel too much sympathy for these companies losing profit, you know? Normally I'd be like, that sucks, because I am pro-capitalism to an extent, but again, when it's, you know, extreme wealth in exchange for deaths, it's kind of an obvious answer for me. However, the one downside I did hear about the socialist side of energy is research. So right now, the majority of the UK's innovation research that goes into renewables, solar, wind, all this sort of stuff, is from the energy companies themselves. So they actually foot the bill for these types of initiatives, and they do that with their pre-profits. So they cover their employees' costs, their running costs, etc., and then they have, say, well, probably more like this much profit, right? Before they see any of the profit, they do their research and innovation first. Right, because they promise to do certain things. They promise the people who sign up to contracts with them. They promise shareholders. They promise the government that they would do a chunk of research and innovation. So they must do it, and they have to do it before the big cats walk away with their paychecks. Right. So considering that, the problem with us having a socialist type energy company that would cut the profits of these companies means that there will be less research and innovation unless something else is done by the government to cover that as well. But that would mean, again, that money must come from the taxpayer. If we're going to have more research and innovation towards these initiatives, which are important, obviously, then it's going to have to come from somewhere. And that's always the problem. It's always the back and forth between capitalism and socialism, right? It's the continual tug back and forth, or even communism, if you want to go that far. But I like the idea, and I hope they can come to some kind of compromise where it doesn't cause too much competition to these energy companies, or maybe even bringing the other energy companies into the fold somewhat. Maybe they can offer to sell parts of their business to the government for a profit, and in exchange, those parts of the companies can be used as the government's energy production, right? That sounds like a good part way for me. Maybe even offer them ability to go elsewhere, you know? Like, here, we'll buy your business from you for this large sum, and with that profit you can go and set up another energy company elsewhere, or put it in the same energy company that you have in France or whatever, right? Who knows? I don't know. It's just an idea. Two more articles here, both from the BBC. That last one didn't have an article. YouTube lifts, this is an interesting one, Swazi bare-breasted dancer restrictions. So the famous Reed Dance is an annual cultural event held in Swaziland featuring bare-breasted women, right? Because it's just not a thing there, it's not sexualized there. So a spokesperson for the video sharing platform, YouTube, told the BBC that YouTube allows nudity when culturally relevant or properly contextualized. For example, if you're looking at a how-to in breastfeeding, for example, you kind of need to be able to see a breast there, right? Like, it's a bit hard to explain fully exactly what's going on without at least some kind of imagery, especially in a video format, you know? So it makes sense to be able to show bare-breasted women on YouTube when it's a non-sexual thing. I have no problem with this. It's for educational purposes, it's for cultural purposes, great, fine. It's for art, right? It's for a form of cultural art. So, good for them doing this, it is a good thing. YouTube has denied accusations of racism, saying it was keen to be culturally sensitive because users who have uploaded Reed Dance's videos in the past were angered when it was classified as age-restricted content. Understandably, I mean, like, there's kids at these things, you know, kids take part in these dances, because in those countries and in these different cultures, it's just a normal thing. It's not a sexual thing. Much like how in the West, we don't see, like, women walking around showing their ankles or thighs or knees or calves or their arms or their elbows or skin other than around their eyes as a sexual thing. We don't always see it as that, right? It's just how liberal our country is compared to others, and this is how liberal their country is. Their country sees it as breasts are maybe a sexual thing in some contexts, but when they're doing the dance, it's not, right? That's it. So it makes sense that we say, alright, we understand, we respect that, you can upload and do as you please, whatever. I mean, really, I don't think anybody's going to be particularly scarred from looking up some dancing Africans, right? I mean, it's not exactly scarring, is it? It's just It's just culturally enriching. Right? That's all it is. The move was in response to a campaign led by Lazi Dlamini, the head of TV Yabantu, an online video production company featuring Africa's finest culture as seen and recorded by African people. It has a YouTube channel which launched in 2016 and has added up to 4,000 new subscribers every month until the platform started to flag its content as inappropriate. Which I can see why I wouldn't say it's racist, right? Because it's not intentionally saying like, oh, because you're black, we're banning this. It's not racist. That's just dumb to call it that. It's a blanket rule for everybody, so it can't be racist. And this has nothing to do with race either. This is culture, right? It doesn't matter if a white woman joins the Swaziland celebration and goes topless, right? In my opinion, it's the same damn thing. If you're celebrating the culture, it doesn't matter what your skin color is, right? I mean, who cares? Just as long as you're celebrating the culture. So, it's absolutely not racist. Absolutely not. It is not fair to call YouTube or Google or ABC racist due to this. Mr. Dlamini has contacted YouTube's parent company Google to say that he was simply reflecting the cultural values of his community, but the company said that the content violated platform standards, which it did, understandably, right? He then organised a series of protests, working up with more than 200 culture groupings from Swaziland, with the first one taking place on a Saturday in Durban, a city in the neighbouring South Africa. A city in neighbouring South Africa. It included at least a dozen women who posed bare-breasted with placards that accused Google of racism. Again, not racism. It's not racism. It doesn't make sense. However, this part does make sense. One placard read, "My breasts are not inappropriate." And this is something that I've believed in general. I mean, I don't care about nudity, right? I don't care. Like, there's a difference if there are two people engaging in sexual activities on YouTube. That's obviously explicit. But if it's just somebody nude for educational purposes, or dancing, or whatever, or nudism, like somebody walking through a forest, big whoop, right? It's just, we all have naked bodies underneath our clothes. We've all seen it before, and it's, oh, but think of the children. Like it's not scarring, right? It's just a normal thing. And perhaps if we were a little bit more liberal with these things, we would chill it a little bit with these kind of obscenities and unnecessary PC rules. I mean, it's just unnecessary. Again, the line should be drawn as sexual content, except for educational, right? For example, I remember in primary school, when I was approximately 9 years old, we had our first sex ed class. And I remember vividly the cartoon that they showed us, and it is a cartoon, there was this mostly nude but wearing underwear. So there's two people wearing underwear, a man and a woman. And the man is chasing the woman around with a really long feather. I remember it was like longer than like a meter for some reason, just for comic effect, I guess, and chasing her around the bedroom. And that was as far as they showed it, right? Like, they didn't really explain it. They explained how sex works, but they didn't have any other graphics other than the woman and the man running around the bedroom with a feather. And so, I mean, they had some scientific diagrams, but you know what? That's not really informative, because it shows like the blood vessels and the internal workings of like seminal vesicles and whatever else, like uterus, etc. We don't know what any of that is when you're like 9. You have no idea. So, like, my point is that, you know, I understand there's a level, but once there's, you know, nudity itself is not a problem, and sex ed is not a problem either, so long as it's not like showing porn, right? That's pretty much it. All right. So that's an interesting thing. I'm glad to see YouTube's moving forward with that, because it was a little bit insane, their rules here. YouTube's rules in general have been a little bit too restrictive in the past. Magic mushrooms can reset depressed brain. This is again from the BBC. A hallucinogen found in magic mushrooms can reset, and this is in quotes for some reason, the brains of people with untreatable depression. I don't know why the word untreatable isn't in quotes here, because it's resetting it, so it's kind of a treatment. Raising hopes of a future treatment, scans suggest. The small study gave 19 patients, to be fair, good writing. Nice writing, BBC. Well, that's a rare thing for me to say as well. They are pointing out that this is a small study. First thing they did. That's nice, right? They basically said at the very start, take this with a pinch of salt. This is not to be taken entirely as truth. This is not self-evident. This is not entirely proven. right? Nice. The small study gave 19 patients a single dose of the psychedelic ingredient psilocybin, I believe is how it's pronounced. Half of the patients ceased to be depressed and experienced changes in their brain activity that lasted about 5 weeks. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good results so far. And pretty nuts that you just entirely cease to be depressed. And it depends on the level of depression, right? I mean, like, if you're somebody with severe chronic depression, right? And maybe you go like 3 months of manic, where you're kind of happy or crazy happy or just really energetic and excited about life, and then you go into the depressive state for 4 months afterwards. And during that 4 months, you can't leave your bed, and you don't even respond to people talking to you because you don't see the point, right? Like Stephen Fry has claimed to be a manic depressive of that ilk, and so, you know, if we found a way to get by that, that's freaking amazing, you know? Like, I personally would never, I'm not even vaguely interested in ever taking these kind of drugs, because the idea of restarting my mind is terrifying to me. Alcohol and caffeine are the only drugs I will do that affect my mind until I get, or if I get put into a psychiatric home and forced to take something, right? That's it. Because I just personally am terrified of the idea. And I understand that some drugs are good for urine, and many medical drugs are, especially, of course. But my point is that until it is absolutely necessary, I'm not going to ever risk myself with that kind of stuff, which I think is a fair thing. It's sensible. However, having a single dose of this psychedelic ingredient psilocybin has given between 9 and 10 patients the ability to say that they are no longer depressed for at least 5 weeks. That's amazing. That is a huge leap forward if this is to be trusted. Hopefully more studies will come from this, of course, right? The team at Imperial performed fMRI brain scans before treatment with the psilocybin, and then the day after, when the patients were sober again, they did another one. The study published in the journal Scientific Reports showed psilocybin affected 2 key areas of the brain. The amygdala, which is heavily involved in how we process emotions, such as fear and anxiety, became less active. And the greater reduction, the greater improvement in reported symptoms, which would make sense, right? And the default mode network, a collaboration of different brain regions, became more stable after taking the drug. So that's pretty fantastic. I'm really excited for this, and I really hope that this is a revolutionary treatment that can be proven. And who knows? Maybe we'll get to the stage where we you know, you just go to the doctor, you're like, I'm depressed. They're like, no problem, bro. Take one of these. Take a day off work, and you'll be sorted. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And maybe it'll have to be controlled, yeah, because people will probably take the drug, right? More than they probably should. I wouldn't be. Obviously, that will happen if this became legalized and easy to get. So maybe it should be controlled to an extent. But if we can find out exactly what the dosage should be, how frequently it should be taken, the repeat prescriptions, etc., that are required for depression to stay away, or maybe it's only a one-hit wonder, who knows? Or maybe it's going to be different on an individual basis, which is the likely thing. Then all that's fantastic, and we should all be very excited for the possibilities that can go forward with this, right? It's all very exciting. All right. I think that's everything I had for this section. So next up we have the Geek Cred section, but that is after probably a 5 to 10 minute break. I'm going to take a little bit longer, as I normally do in solo shows, due to the fact that my throat starts to hurt talking so much. So you have, let me actually line this up first, because I just realized that I got lost everything during the reboot. Oh geez, I have to choose the songs again. I might listen to some of the same ones again, because I was really enjoying them in the pre-show. Let's try Africa, which is a 4-minute one. Hakuna Matata, because it's a short one, and then one more after that. Tempted to put on Justin Bieber because it's amusing. No, I don't think I shall. Oh, Cotton Eye Joe. I gotta do that. That's just funny. Okay, you have been listening to ShowX on VTproductions.com. We'll be back after this break. Thank you very much, and we will see you shortly.
Send in your emails to ShowX at vtwproductions.com.
Joe.
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
Okay, you're listening to ShowX live on vtwproductions.com. I had way too much fun in that music break. I love Leo's stuff. Really great. Even Cotton Eye Joe, which I hate in the real world, but like metal Cotton Eye Joe, hell yeah! And as I was singing the IRC, well, apart from when I was singing Hakuna Matata in lyrics, I live in constant fear that my students will find these ShowX archives and find a video of me air guitaring to Cotton Eye Joe. That'd be terrifying. No, actually, it'd probably be hilarious, and I would find it funny. But it's a good thing that it's a good thing there's so many thousands of hours of me talking on this show, because to find the really bad parts, you gotta listen to for a long time. You know, to find the weird, the funny parts, you gotta listen to the whole damn thing. You know. So yeah, you listen to ShowX on vtwproductions.com. This is the Geek Cred section, as Copy was saying, which means that this is where I discuss the geeky things I've been up to. And you can send in emails with the geeky things you've been up to, and I'll discuss that too. To ShowX at vtwproductions.com. Now, but on that last note about the students finding these videos, before I delve into the Geek Cred fully here, I forgot to mention in the dysfunctional deviation section that when I was out on Thursday night, I bumped into two of my students through the photography club. So, you know, there's a photography club, bunch of people. I know a lot of them, and me and Kitten Features, my wife, show up to this night out, and it turns out that two of my ex-students is worth mentioning. They're now in 3rd year, and I'm not teaching 3rd year this semester. But I taught them in their 2nd and in their 1st year. They were on this night out, two of them. And the only space at the whole table was right next to them. So I had to go sit next to two of these ex-students of mine. Nice kids, like and everything. I say kids, they're like 20, 22, 23, and I'm 26, so they're not really kids, right? They feel like kids because they're my students, right? And it was a little awkward because they'd already been, well, as they said, they'd been drinking since 5 o'clock, and it was 8. So they'd had 3 hours of drinking ahead of us, and you could tell that there were a few hours of drinking ahead. And that was amusing, because my wife found it endlessly humorous to ask them what kind of a teacher I am, and was astounded when they said, "Oh, he's very strict." Yeah, he makes you do it right. He makes you do everything like the way it has to be done, like the correct way, which is good. They said it's a good thing because we're better programmers because of it. But it was funny to hear them say that too. And yeah, Kitten was laughing her ass off at that. The idea of me being a strict teacher apparently tickled her in a funny way. So that was funny. Some geeky stuff. This is going to be a very short section because, as I said, I've not really done much other than work this week. I did put in maybe an hour of RimWorld this week. I actually installed it on my work PC so that I could actually chill out when I was waiting on something to compile, funnily enough. That's an old school, like, programmer excuse right there. But it's true. I was actually waiting for something to, to run, I should say, not to compile. So I did install RimWorld, and I got some new mods for it, and I actually want to talk through some of these mods. So for those who don't know, RimWorld is this fantastic survival game on Steam right now for 30 bucks. It's got a rating of 10 out of 10 on Steam, right? Let me let that in. 10 out of 10. It describes itself on Wikipedia as a construction and management simulation video game currently being developed by Ludion Studios, and it was initially released as alpha in 2013. And I don't know what stage it's in now, actually. On July 2016, the game was released on Steam Early Access, along with alpha version 14, so I think it's still in alpha. Which is crazy, because it feels like a full game to me. Yep. In May this year, Alpha 17 was released, yeah. Introducing Rivers and Roads. Okay, but yeah, it's a really great game, really fun game. You can easily lose hours of your life playing this. And you can really customize it, and plus there's development mode options as well, so if you, I don't know, so it is randomly generate events, right? So sometimes you might have, yeah, you can choose your AI that you have controlling your story mode, so it can make it so that stuff happens gradually, then increases in time, or increases in scale, so you might have like one dude attacking your outpost, then later on you might have 20, for example. So it's a very fun game, but you have these development options so that if you get to the stage where maybe you put the difficulty too high, you can turn on development mode and like God mode everything for like a few seconds so that you can get back to doing what you're doing, for example. So it's a nice open game where you can play it as you want to play it. Copy in the IRC, or Greyfield in the IRC says, "Ken, if I were one of your students, would you think of me as a kid too?" And then sad face. Yeah, because I have... Okay, there is somebody over double my age who was actually in the same year as those other students, who I taught for 2 years in a row, who I think of as a kid. I think of him as not literally in the sense of young, but in the sense of, I don't know, he's just a student, you know? Like, I think of him as students. I think of them as... I am their teacher. I treat them all the same, you know? I treat them all as these students who I need to respect, and I hope that respect is returned in the same kind of way. That's a teacher-student relationship, as it should be, right? And I'll treat a 5-year-old like that, and I'll treat a 65-year-old like that, because I would respect any of my students, and I would treat them all with pretty much the same level, except for the fact that they're, you know, different levels of ability, and that'd be it. So I've been playing RimWorld, and that's been lots of fun. Now, here are some of the mods that I have installed for it. There's been more since I last played a few months ago, so it was worth... I decided to look through and install some new ones. Now, I'm trying to... my subscriber... There we go. Okay. Steam's a little clunky at times. So I got researchable stat upgrades. So the problem yes, academically young. That's well phrased, copy. One of the mods I got was researchable stat upgrades. So in the game, as far as I'm aware, you can't actually change anybody's stats other than when you first make the characters. So you might make somebody who's really good at shooting and has no melee skill, for example, and say you have one person who's really good at construction, which is kind of important for a base builder, right? And say that person dies from disease early on. It's really gonna screw you over, right? So I got this mod because it allows you to... You pay for it, right? You are paying through people's time researching in the game, but you can actually improve people's stats over time. And the copy goes again to say I'm one of those high wisdom, low intellect characters. You've got a low mana pool, but you've got but it replenishes quickly. Noted. That's good. I'm probably the opposite. I know a lot about very niche things, but I'm a complete moron with real life. Like I'm the kind of guy that would spend 20 minutes trying to, like, unlock a door to find out I'm using the wrong key. That's the kind of dumbass I am, right? But if you want to know about all these, like, intense mathematical algorithms I use in my work, yeah, I can teach you that. Yeah, no problem. Alright. I also installed Housekeeper Assistance Cat, which is, it's kind of a cheat in a way. I get sick of... What I usually do is I get a maid in the game, right? Because, generally speaking, if you have a colony of 1, 3, 5, whatever, small number of people, generally speaking, all of these people are trying to do important stuff, like construct, get food, cook food, butcher animals, hunt, I don't know, research, haul stuff around, mine, you know, a lot of the, you know, the essentials for living, mainly, right? That kind of thing. And sleeping as well, and all that stuff. So, that's a lot of stuff they gotta do. And at the very bottom of the priority list, not the very bottom, but near the bottom of the priority list, there's cleaning. So, for example, if somebody is ill and vomits all over multiple rooms, everybody's gonna be too busy trying to survive to, like, doing all these important things to actually clean. So what I tend to do is I'll have, like, 2 or 3 characters that I like, who are my actual characters, then I'll make one dude or one chick, who has low skills, who I don't really care about. I'll tick them off for every duty except for hauling and cleaning. So their entire job is just to pick stuff up, move it around, and clean up people's vomit, puke, and dirt, and rubble. So I figured, instead of that, you can actually have pets that you can teach certain things, but cats have always been kind of useless in the game. You can't teach them anything. They're just vanity pets, really. So what this does is it gives cats the ability to actually, you know, clean and haul and stuff. And so you can teach them it, and you still have to kind of pay for it in that sense. You have to teach them it. But, it's very useful, and it's better than having a person who has all these needs and requirements and mental health stuff. So I just have a housekeeper cat instead now. And I like that. It's a bit better. Another mod that says while you're up. So imagine you have 2 dudes in your colony, and you tell them to go mine something. So they go mine something. They're off quite far away from camp, and they're mining, right? And they both mine and drop 1 ore each, let's say. And then they're done, and they try to return to base. The first guy picks up all the ore and heads back to base. The second guy could just head back to base and bring back nothing. That's a waste of a journey. So instead, he'll look around his area and say, oh, actually, there's something over there that I could bring back to base that'll be useful. Let me go pick that up and bring that back to base. Instead of just doing my next normal action, which would be go home, right? It's a simple thing, but it's just like, while you're up, could you also grab this? It's a simple mechanic in AI that I think was very useful. You don't even notice it really working, but it's useful. Various spaceship chunks, so instead of it just being one type of spaceship that falls from the sky, you get different minerals being dropped, so it's vaguely useful. Again, I've not even noticed the difference yet. And then I think the rest of them are all older ones that I had. Stuff like additional joy objects, because right now, people will complain that they're bored unless you put like a, you know that metal stick and you throw horse rings at it? Like the horseshoe stuff, that kind of game that people used to play in like the 1920s or whatever. That's an exaggeration. That's if you don't have that, colonists will get really sad. But that's all they need is that. And I feel that's a really crappy joy system. It's just like oh, build this one thing when you make your colony and it's fine. That's a cop-out. So the additional joy objects isn't to make it easier, it actually just adds a bit of variety. So that, you know, as your colony grows in size, you get more colonists. Maybe just having horse rings isn't a good idea. So I start putting, like, I don't know, chess tables and stuff around. It makes it feel a bit more realistic that way. And that's the majority of them, okay? That's most of the mods have gone. But it makes the game more enjoyable, and that's kind of what I try to do with mods, is I don't try to make it easier, I try to make it more enjoyable. If that means making it easier, then so be it, but generally speaking, I just like to have mods that make the experience worthwhile. The last thing I want to talk about in my Geek Cred section here is I'm still finishing watching Star Trek The Next Generation. I've been on the last season for 3 months now. Let me just open up Netflix and see where I am now. I've now gotten to... Come on. Open up. Come on. Season 7, Episode 16, Thine Own Self. And there are only 26 episodes, so I've only got 9 more to go, including this one. So I'm very much looking forward to getting to the end, seeing it. Well, I'm actually not as well, right? But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I expect to see more with the Borg, because it's not really been touched on in a while, and I want to see what happens there and how they destroy the Borg, which must happen this season, because it's the end of it. So we'll see. Kuro in the IRC says he's been trying to play Skyrim SE with mods, but it keeps crashing for me. Well, that's the legit experience of Skyrim then, isn't it? That's what we expect. Yeah, I know, that's one of the pains with, and the great things and the pains with Skyrim is trying to get the mods all correct. So many compatibility issues, it's a pain in the ass. It really is difficult. Okay, that's everything to do in the Geek Cred section, so I will instead move on to the next one now.
Technology, news, and more, today on the Geekoscope.
Alright, fairly well explained there by copy, so I don't think I need to explain what the section is. Alright, so first I've got a load of things from IGN, then I've got something from Reddit, PC Gamer, so a little bit of a mix here. I'm going to open them randomly. I'm not going to do them in particular order, because they weren't added in any particular order, so I think that's fair. Okay, this first one is from Reddit, but it's actually published by IGN/Humble Bundle. What do you mean by /Humble Bundle? Well, good sir and madam, I say that because Humble Bundle and IGN are no longer separate entities. Humble Bundle, yeah, I just thought so. I just put it down a little bit. Is that better? That should be better. I think Wayne must always do that. I didn't even notice. Thanks for letting me know. Copy. So yes, Humble Bundle has been acquired by IGN. You say foreground music. Okay, never mind. Okay, sorry, I was confusing myself. So, as the top comment in the Reddit thread here says, which is, this seems like a massive conflict of interest. Yeah, Humble Bundle has been acquired by IGN, a journalistic body, a games journalism body, who are not always known for having the best standards, right? And no games journalism is, and nor any journalist, like no media outlet is known for being the gold standard of media, right? Well, there probably was literally some that are literally known for that. However, my point being, everybody's biased, right? So you can't really trust anything. And as Copy says, but IGN is bad and Humble Bundle is good. Humble Bundle may be good, and they may have done a lot of good things with charity and stuff in the past, but the owners certainly like money, because they just got a whole buttload of it for doing this. So that's nuts. It's sad. Friday the 13th as well is what people are saying. So let's read what the actual announcement says from the Humble Bundle blog. Announcing our biggest bundle ever. Humble Bundle is proudly joining the IGN family. We will continue to bring you all of our Humble products, but with more resources and help from IGN, or as what I'm reading it as more restrictions and requirements from IGN. We chose IGN because they really understand our vision. They offered the most money, that I'm obviously not quoting there, by the way, share our passion for games, and believe in our mission to promote awesome digital content while helping charity. Well, that's good. I'm glad they're keeping the charity side of it up. I can't think of a better partner than IGN to help Humble Bundle continue our quest. We will be working harder than ever to bring you the best gaming bundles, book bundles and store sales, while nurturing the Humble Monthly and our new publishing initiative. So it's going to be the same team, same office and culture apparently, with IGN helping to further our plans. We will raise even more money for our charity. So it's funny how you can see what their points are here. They're addressing exactly what our fears are, which is good. But it also kind of confirms our fears in a way, because they were already thinking it, right? Maybe I'm just being paranoid here, but that's how I feel in a way. So, that's from Jeffrey Rosen, the co-founder and CEO of Humble Bundle. We will see how that goes. It's a little scary. Let me know what you think about it. Send in to ShowX at vtproductions.com or stay in the IRC as well. Friday the 13th was a great day for me. I got another SNES Classic, says Copy. Very nice. I'm really good at being in the right place at the right time. Nice. That is that's more of a luck than charisma skill there, Copy. So that's pretty nuts what's going on there. I'm not too happy with that, and it makes me sad that it has happened. But, well, it's not in my control. I didn't buy it, so I can't really complain. Okay, now this one is more of a discussion point than the article itself. This is from PC Gamer. European game rating body agrees with ESRB. Loot boxes are not gambling. So both these trade groups have said it's not their job to make the rules in regard to the loot boxes, and I actually agree here, because this should not be controlled by an external body. How people run their games companies, right? If you want to have a gambling system in your game, go for it. You go for it. If you want to have this soft gambling, let's call it then, this soft gambling system, where you pay an amount of real money, you get a box that has a miscellaneous number of items in it, a bit like Hearthstone packs, right? That's entirely up to you. You might get crap, you might get good stuff, you might get amazing stuff, but it's all virtual and not really worth anything in the real world. At least that's the norm, right? I mean, I'm sure, like in the case of, like, for example, if Team Fortress did it, if you got like a fancy hat, right, then your fancy hat could be worth hundreds of dollars. So you could literally make money doing this if you wanted to. But again, that is still gambling in a sense. Probably less soft, probably harder gambling, right? Now I want to talk more about the ethics rather than the legality behind it. What do we think about loot boxes? Should this be the norm? Should we hope that more games do it? Or is this just a cash grab? Because that's certainly the way I'm feeling. I feel like, call me old school here, but okay, let's go back in the day, 90s. Can you imagine in the 90s if a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 game, or a Sega game or whatever was released on a cartridge or a CD, and an expansion came out? Okay, great. That kind of thing did happen, right? That was a real thing that would happen. Like, or even PC games in the 90s. You'd have Warcraft 3, then Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne, right? Reign of Chaos, then Frozen Throne. And it was a whole new game practically. You got new campaigns, new units. It was worth the money. In fact, it won Game of the Year, right? That is how you properly expand your content with additional stuff and make people happy. It's been proven, right? That worked very well, and I don't think that the culture has changed in a way that that's not a reasonable thing to do anymore. I still think that's a very good approach. Then we have the middle ground, where we moved on to in the years after that. I'd say in the late noughts, the late 2000s, where you could buy specific DLC, for example, in Oblivion, when you could get horse armor, or you can do it right now with Skyrim, right? You can buy like horse armor, or you can buy, I don't know, certain weapons or whatever in the game, but you know what you're getting at least, and you know what you're paying. And again, this is multivariate. There's not just a single, that's how it is. There was also, some people would do it through points, which is a little bit, again, I would say it's unethical in a way, because the points were often tiered in a really bad way, so that like 100 points, which is an unknown currency, might be worth £10 or something. And to buy a weapon in the game, it always costs like 6 to 8 or something, and it was intentional, so you never get the most out of your points. It was intention. All these sort of currencies are made so that you have some left over, so that you feel like you're wasting your money, so you go buy more, right? Which is one way of doing it. Other systems would have it so that you could buy a whole pack of all the for example, Killing Floor does this, where you go buy a whole pack of weaponry in the game. You get a bunch of skins, and it might be like $1, $2, and that's not so bad, right? Because effectively what you're saying is, I accept that the developer had to sit down and a graphics designer had to actually develop all these weapons. Games developers had to work out the mathematics between which ones are more powerful, are they even, are there some overpowered, some underpowered, etc. Trying to make it more balanced in the game, right? So that's fair again, that you pay $1 or $2, I think, to cover the costs of that. Or arguably, you could say that them just continually releasing the occasional bit of content like that will encourage more people to talk about the game, and therefore more people to buy the base game, and therefore you make your money back anyway. You could argue that as well, right? So again, the kind of the lower end of the pricing scheme, I think, might actually be better off. Then you have loot boxes, which came out in the more recent years, and it's the concept that even with points as well, you can buy these boxes that contain items, skins, or even what I really, really hate. And I have this pool, you know, that famous pool game that you can get on your phone, right? I think it's called 8 Pool or something. Let me go with the name of it. It's full of microtransactions and ads. 8 Ball Pool. I think it's got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of users, right? It's a Facebook integrated game on iOS and on Android. Really fun to play, and you play 1v1 or in tournaments with other people who also like playing pool online. Cool, no problem. That's a fine, normal thing, enjoyable thing to do. Problem is that if you open the game, it'll ask you to invite all your Facebook friends. When you close that, it'll then say, "Hey, we have a thing on right now where you can spend cash to get this special queue, and you get in-game currency and all this other stuff that you don't need to play the game, but might make you better than others, and for winning for some reason, as if that makes it worthwhile." And then they have like something else pop up saying, "Hey, spin to win some in-game currency, spin the gambling roulette wheel thing." And, you know, this just happens again and again and again, and, or you can, like, watch ads to get some in-game currency, and so on. And it's all just gambling-based, and it's all trying to get people to do it, and that's kind of the extreme, right? However, the base game is free, and so I can almost understand, to an extent, why you would need something like that to keep your, you know, your freaking your development team getting paid, right? That's important. You can't just make these games for free entirely, right? It's not really a model that will work. So you either need to make people pay for skins or whatever else. Now, the reason I brought up the 8 Ball Pool, however, is that they have now got these gift boxes in the game as well. These loot boxes, except you get some for free occasionally. Like I had one for free yesterday, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll open it, because if I get some currency in the game, then that helps me play the game technically. I can, because the more currency you have, the more you can gamble and stuff, right? So you can play different game modes or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll do the free thing. I don't care. So I opened it, and I got some coins, which is great, like I wanted. But I also got it said, wow, you have a chance at winning a queue as well. I was like, okay, that's vaguely interesting. I mean, having the queues changes the content slightly, and changes like the power of your shots and how much you can spin them and all that sort of stuff, right? Accuracy, etc. And it said, "Wow, you won a queue piece," and you know, like a quarter of a queue appeared on the screen, and I was like, "What is this shit?" You know? What is this? That's just disgusting. So you can pay 79p, you can pay $1 pretty much, to get a chance to win a part of a queue. So you might buy 20 of these boxes for 20 bucks and get like dozens of pieces of different queues, because I think there's hundreds, right? And you might never even get something you can play with. So you need to spend even more money. So what's the point in spending $20 in what can possibly literally translate into nothing you can play with yet until you spend more? You're gambling at paying for a piece of something. I mean, yeah, it's possible that you might You might unlock it cheaply, right? You might even get the whole queue. I don't know how the loot boxes work in this particular game, but it's just disgusting. And again, like Copy says in the IRC, yes, pay-to-win models suck. Now, with this game, it is partly pay-to-win because you can buy queues, which improves your quality of play, right? So yeah, that's bad. Now, if you're paying for skins, I don't care, right? Have that in your game, please. Actually, I think it's a great thing to have that kind of customization. It unlocks some extra content for the people who care about that kind of thing, and the people who don't have to buy it. It's fine, right? And it's actually better that way than having them in the base game, and paying and your developers get underpaid for extra work. You know, if you want to have the extra stuff separately and they have to pay a small amount for that, cool, go for it. I have no problem with that. But again, as Copy says, pay for vanity crap is my favorite. I will drop so much cash into vanity crap. Cut off World of Warcraft. Yeah, exactly, right? Like pets and mounts and stuff that don't actually affect gameplay whatsoever, except for the way things look. So graphic designers' time. Fine. No problem. In fact, I think they're great, because World of Warcraft and Blizzard and Activision have been doing this right. They actually have charity cases in there as well, literally. Like, whenever there's, well, not every time, but occasionally when there's a world disaster, they'll release a new pet and say, all profits from this pet will go towards this charity. And they often raise millions, right? Like, I don't care if they make money from it normally, if they're doing that as well. That is extremely ethical, it's good for their company, and it helps people who need it. And like, who can complain when millions of dollars are going towards helping people, and it makes a bunch of gamers happy? That's a great thing. I think it's fantastic. So, with all these variety of other options available, for how we can actually reward gamers with additional content after the game has been released, why are people focusing on these loot boxes? And the simple answer is, it's an easy cash grab, right? You don't need to worry about the content being good, you don't need to worry about it being well thought out, well designed, you don't need to sell it well, nothing like that. You just need to say it's an unknown, and you have a chance, like a 0.1% chance or whatever, of getting something really good in the game, though you won't, unless you spend hundreds of dollars, right? I mean, it's the same with most of these games. Hearthstone as well, included, to be fair. If you spend enough money, you have to spend thousands of dollars to unlock everything in the game. And I don't think Hearthstone's worth that much money. I don't think any game out there is worth that much money for one individual person, right? Yes, of course, it's worth millions in the grand scheme of the world, and how much is worth. But in terms of for a single person, no, not at all. And that's very impressive. Copy. She says every charity pet. I wouldn't be surprised if you had every pet in general, though, as well, Copy, to be fair. Yeah, it's a cash grab, and I look down on these companies that do this, and that's why I've been a little bit upset with some other games that have been announced in the recent times, because they have loot boxes, and it just disgusts me. And I gotta say, I'm not putting up a staunch wall here. I'm not putting up a Trump wall saying that I will not buy any game that has loot boxes. That's not the case. But I can tell you, I won't be purchasing loot boxes. I will not. I might support them in the sense of you made the game and I support that, but I'll never support the loot boxes themselves. I will not buy them. I will not do it. I will not. I refuse. And please never gift me them, because they freaking suck. You know, don't support this kind of behavior from these companies. It's not going to be regulated by governments. They have come out and said this. PG and PEGI and the UK trade group UKIE have said they are not going, and ESRB have said they are not going to make the rules regarding this. They are not going to try and manage how companies do these loot boxes, so it's up to us, the consumers, to do so. We need to take a stand, and we need to not go out and purchase those loot boxes specifically. Alright? We can't do it. Don't fall to it. Do not buy the loot crap. They suck. They suck. They're unethical, and you're paying for laziness and just bad marketing. And you're encouraging it by doing so. The best gaming chairs. Now, I have never been one for gaming chairs. I've never really understood gaming chairs. I think they look cool, but I've only ever had just desk chairs, because I'm a weirdo, apparently. So this has been updated this month, actually. This is an old article that's been updated. So I actually didn't just want to talk about the ones that it mentions here on IGN, but I want to talk about what you guys have got as well. So do send in your articles and your reviews of any gaming let's go with gaming peripherals that you have in general. I'm interested. Let me know. Because I personally have a Razer mouse camera, a Death Adder, and I've also got the Razer Death Adder keyboard, but that got destroyed by my chinchillas, so now I've got like a 12-pound gaming keyboard at home that has it's just a normal keyboard, but WASD keys are yellow, and I think that's it. And I miss my old beautiful Razer keyboard, but that's the problem with having pets. So, this gaming chair here, the first one in the article, is the Vertigear Racing Series SL4000. YouTube stars, Twitch streamers, and esports athletes all seem to be rocking the racing-style gaming chairs these days. While there is a crazy amount of racing chairs available with a further high visibility, and you know, the arrows and the lightning makes you go fast, which you want on a gaming chair, I guess. Or at least you want your DPI to be fast. DPI? That's APM. I don't know why I went to printing. I meant actions per minute, right? You needed to be high. Fast. Gotta go fast. Got a Zerg Rush. While the cushioning is a bit firmer than the found on the other chairs, we prefer a chair with more of a solid cushion. Okay, that's nice. Well, it's 300 and something bucks, which is nuts for a chair. But you know what? If you're gonna sit on that thing, like, 5 hours a day for several years, that's thousands of hours, man. It's worth investing in your back. So, for that purpose, I totally understand getting an expensive chair and an ergonomic one. Speaking of which, this one looks a much nicer one for me. If you like the look of a racing chair but don't want to go the whole hog, the Furmax ergonomic racing chair strikes a satisfying aesthetic balance. It's part racing chair, part office chair, and it's really affordable. It's even available in several outlandish color schemes if you want to liven up the look of your office a bit. 66 bucks, it's on Amazon, it's the Furmax ergonomic racing chair, and ergonomics are not something to be laughed at. It is something that's very important in my opinion, because it's the difference between you having a bad back in 30 years and being able to continue game as you do today, which is what we all want to do, right? X-Rocker Pro Series Pedestal 2.1. From the name of that, you can tell that the price tag is going to be in the thousands. Oh, it's not. 200 bucks. Wow, this looks good, considering the first one was actually a little bit more expensive. This looks really nice. So when it comes to rocker-style gaming thrones, X-Rocker still leads the pack. The Pro Series pedestal is our favourite on the line, thanks to no small part to the fact it looks like the home on the bridge of a starship. I'm sold. But beyond this cool design, the X-Rocker features 2 speakers and a subwoofer, all hooked up to the wireless transmitter to avoid unsightly cords strewn around the floor. The wireless transmitter works with an RC out, so depending on your setup, you might need an additional adapter, which costs about 30 bucks. It looks neat though. I really like the look of this chair, and it looks very comfortable, looks very, very, very cushy. And then the last one I can be bothered actually reading out here is the Big Joe Dorm Chair. Big Joe Dorm Chair. I did say that right. Big, expensive gaming chairs aren't for everyone, especially you live in a smaller space. For anyone not currently grinding through games in front of a TV and a modest pad, the Big Joe Dorm Chair is made just for you. It's 30 bucks and it's filled with dense beans to conform to your shape. It's basically just a bean bag in the shape of an armchair. And it looks very comfy. It's also got a little holder for, like, I don't know, stuff. So you can put all your drinks in it or whatever. And that's it. Although the most expensive chair here, I'll mention that one too, because that's the next most interesting, is the Herman Miller's Aeron chair. It's a classic, and for good reason. It's 959 bucks, and it's one of the most well-designed chairs in modern times. It's adjustable in so many ways, it's literally impossible to not get it set up just the way you like it, unless you get confused by the massive amounts of controls, I imagine. The genius of its design is once you have configured it, you feel like you're essentially floating in the chair, as the tension-based adjustments keep you in the perfect ergonomic posture. It's expensive, but this is the type of chair you buy and use for a decade, if not longer, then pass it on to your kids when they get into gaming. It's available in 3 sizes, so be sure to consult the size chart before you make the plunge. Jeez, 1,000 bucks for a chair. That's nuts. Alright, I don't know if anybody's ever interested in that. Got a few comments in the IRC here. We have, Kuro says, I heart my gaming chair. I have a basic DX Racer chair, and it's nice. Well, that's the thing, even the basic version is probably nicer than the average office chair, right? And again, if you're sitting in your chair for a long period of time, and multiple times throughout the week, you need something that's going to be ergonomically safe. Copy says she bought a new shiny monitor today. I have a second monitor now. Yay! Congratulations. I'm currently working on a dual monitor. I only do that at work though. Like, it's weird for me. I'm not used to it at home. I don't do it with gaming because I like having one screen. It's because they don't conform properly unless they're 2 of the same monitor and they have like next to no film in the middle. I just can't do it. Kuro says, I like the DX Racer chairs because they are built with really good quality, lots of metal. That's important. I've twice had fairly cheap leather chairs, leather desk chairs, which look really nice and really comfy, but only last about 2 years. One of them actually collapsed on me because one of my female friends in high school sat on me while I was sitting on this chair, and the function for leaning back just started going, and gave way, and the top half of the chair was on the floor, and the other half was just still pointing up. And yeah, that was dead from there and then on. And so since then, I've always been careful with buying those kind of chairs because I am a big guy, so I gotta be careful with these things. And she was a small girl, so... in other news, Cuphead sells 1 million copies! That's impressive. Cuphead reached a major sales milestone in just 2 weeks. Studio MDHR announced that this colourful, boss-focused action game has gone platinum, selling 1 million copies since it was released on September 29th. Congratulations, all I can say, guys. It's well deserved. It's got some of the highest ratings we've had of games this year. It looks like it's made its own place in the world of gaming, and it came out of nowhere. I'm really impressed, and I love how the small companies are having more and more successes like this. I think a lot of other industries can learn from gaming in this sense, and how we do it. We are investing in the small companies. We're giving them the chance. We have platforms for them to stand up and earn some money from the get-go for their design plans, and a lot of good stuff comes out of it. Although maybe a lot of crap does too, right? But a lot of good stuff too. So that's good. Congratulations to those guys. That's from IGN. Destiny 2 has had its PC requirement. I don't care about this actually, really, but let's do it quickly. Minimum specs for Destiny 2 have been announced. You require an Intel Core i3-3250, an Intel Pentium G4 560, or an AMD FX 4350, along with a GeForce GTX 660 2GB, or a GTX 1050 2GB, or a Radeon HD 7850. And it still calls for 6 gigs of RAM, now needing a whopping 68 gig of HD space. That is quite a lot, actually, hard drive space. That's a bit nuts. However, the recommended, not just the minimum, is an Intel Core i5-2400, i5-7400, or a Ryzen R5 1600X, and a GeForce GTX 970 4GB, 1060 6GB, or an R9 390 8GB. The recommended RAM is 8GB as well. Naturally, however meek or beefy your machine may be, you'll need to load up Battle.net to play it on the PC, as Activision and Bungie agreed to make Destiny 2 third-party game available via Blizzard's signature storefront, which is cool. I think it's interesting. Kuro asks if I found a new video game card, a video card. No. And so I have some news with that in the past week. Actually, I have 2 buddies of mine, that's just 2 colleagues, one of whom decided to go out and splurge and buy a nice new GTX 1060. And that meant his old card, which was like a 780 or whatever, was no longer needed. And so he was giving it to another colleague of mine for free. So the other colleague of mine had his old graphics card, which was like a 680 or whatever, and he offered it to me. And I said, well, I've got a 580 right now, and I looked at the specs. There wasn't really that much of a difference between the two. Not worth really paying for. And not that he actually asked me to pay him any money, but I'm not the kind of person to take stuff for free, right? I would definitely pay him in something, maybe a whiskey or something. And it just wasn't worth me taking on. I mean, yeah, it probably would have let me use my home computer, but I think maybe it's safer me not being able to use my home computer, because right now I've got so little time that I'm cutting time with my family, never mind being able to game much. So I think, and it's a really, really tough thing to say, but I think that I'm not planning to do any major gaming, PC gaming, until after my PhD. Which means I have approximately 17 months of no PC gaming. It's one hell of a dry spell, especially considering I've been doing it since I was about 7. So, but hopefully more comes out of it, more photography, more, and a doctorate, right? That's the plan. We'll see. I just closed the IRC! Ah, that's what I get for clicking on it. Why would I do that? Can I, how do I... Okay, I'm just gonna quit the whole thing. Sorry IRC, I didn't just give up on you. I actually quite like you guys. I didn't mean to do that. It's because I use hotkeys all the time, and I use the same hotkey for Chrome apparently as is to close a window in the IRC. And what's nice is I've got it set up to automatically log me in now, so it doesn't need to, I don't need to type it in anymore. So I don't, because I remember like 3 years ago I accidentally typed my password on YouTube, which was a bit dumb. live on air. Find that episode if you want. Don't worry, it's just for IRC, and go ahead. Okay, so that was Destiny 2 stuff, which I'm not particularly interested in, like I said. This one is from digitalrev.com. This is a really interesting piece here that I really want to talk about. It's a video that I shared on the ShowX Facebook, and it's to do with a new camera that looks like a phone. So, it's called the L16. This futuristic photography startup, known as Light, raised over $30 million US for the development of this first model. While initially not much was known about the project, the veil has gradually been lifted, and is now revealing that their new camera will be ready around September of this. Actually, now it's pretty much ready now, I think, and it costs $1,700 US upon release. So the camera, known as the L16, is called the L16 due to the number of lenses it has on it. 16 lenses. And so it looks like a phone. So imagine you're holding up a smartphone, but instead of having the one camera that you see on it, imagine 16 of those dotted around it. And what it does is it takes 16 separate of these different modules, takes a photo with each of them with different depths of field, different lighting options, and then it stitches them all together, which is a fantastic thing. Now, coming from a point of photography as well as technology, I can tell you why this is a great idea. One, it makes this a really high resolution picture. Each one is 13 meg. And when stitched together, it makes a 52 megapixel image, each image, which is really high quality, right? Just in sheer pixel count, it's a beautiful quality image. Enough to probably fill, like, billboards, right? Like, that kind of really high quality pixel density. Not only that, but due to the fact that this is multi-layered with different lenses all merging them together, it means that when you're doing the editing process, you can make certain things appear out of focus, in focus, and what you're doing is not editing the overall image artificially. You're literally saying, use this image over that image and put that one on top of that one, and it lets you fiddle with it in a more realistic way. So that instead of actually artificially inducing some effects through software and through algorithms, you're just... Oh. No. Not yet. Sorry, my bad. I forgot that's only half an hour. So it stitches these all together and you have the ability to do some cool editing with it, and it's really neat. $1,600 for it. It looks really cool. I'm excited. There's a video on our ShowX Facebook if you want to watch about it. It is cool. Personally, I am interested. It's supposed to be a pocket version of a DSLR, pretty much. It itself is not actually a DSLR, because that is something single lens, right? That's what digital single lens something is what DSLR stands for. So it's not a DSLR. It's a D16LR, right? It's a powerful thing. It's a bit different. It won't have as much customization, I imagine, as a DSLR. But it might be the future of photography. We'll see. And I think new phones will follow this pattern. Okay, other than that, we now have PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, this is from IGN, is the first Steam game to hit 2 million concurrent users. I'm not going to go into the article because that's kind of enough information about that right there, and I want to get through more before the end of the show here. Oculus Rift has announced a standalone Oculus Go VR headset. So Oculus Rift just announced the standalone Oculus Go VR headset, $400 price point. The Facebook CEO and founder Mark Zuckerberg, who now owns Oculus Rift, if you remember from last year or earlier this year, the standalone headset called Oculus Go is coming out sometime next year. It's announced it'll be about $400 or so. The headset separates itself from solutions like the Samsung Gear VR in that it doesn't require a phone to work. It's truly standalone, making it what Zuckerberg calls the most accessible VR headset ever. Back in March, Oculus Rift and Touch Controller Bundle had a price that was about $500, and in July went on sale for $400. That price includes the touch controllers and is permanent. The Oculus Rift originally launched for $600 and required a pretty powerful PC. However, this is now, even though now more laptops are VR ready, apparently, upon a release, and desktop PCs that run VR applications are available for less than $1,000, this one is apparently going to be truly standalone. So that's interesting as well. We'll see how that goes in the future, because it's going to have to be a hefty piece of kit in that small device, right? I don't know how the quality is going to be, and I highly doubt it's going to be 1080p, right? Or more. It's not going to be 4K anyway. So, or I doubt it anyway. If it is, I'll be very surprised and amazed. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that if it could reach that, I just don't think it could yet. We're not at that stage yet. This is from The Verge. Microsoft have finally admitted that Windows Phone is dead. Which is kind of a shame. I always loved the look of Windows phones. I really did. I thought they were great. I don't know why. I just always liked Windows phones. I thought they were really neat products. I thought they looked good. I liked the UI, and I liked the way that you could look through things, and I like the tile thing. I think the tile thing was done right on Windows Phone, but it was done poorly on Windows 8.1 and onwards, or 8.0 and onwards. In a series of tweets, Microsoft's Joe Belfiore has revealed that the software giant is no longer developing new features or hardware for Windows 10 Mobile. While Windows Phone fans had hoped Microsoft would update the platform with new features, it's now clear that the operating system has been placed into servicing mode with just bug fixes and security updates for existing users. Of course, we'll continue to support the platform with bug fixes and security updates, but building new features aren't the focus. During recent Windows 10 Fall Creators Update development phase, it's been obvious that Microsoft is no longer working on the mobile experience. The software maker branched its development process into Feature 2, leaving Windows Phone fans disappointed. Well, this is how things move forward, right? They're not making enough money, which just says that people are not interested. And hey, I said I like the look of it, but I never went and bought one, right? Which just shows that I didn't really support it. So you always vote with your money, right? Well, let's do one more before we actually let the outro go. In fact, I think that's small anyway. Age of Empires Definitive Edition, sorry to end the show on a bad note here, has been delayed until next year for more in-depth testing, which I would argue is actually a good point. So, bad news for those who couldn't wait to get the remastered version of the legendary RTS Age of Empires next week. You're going to have to wait a bit longer. The definitive edition of Age of Empires, because AoE 2 was released in HD earlier last year, I think, and this is the original AoE being produced with modern graphics, or I should say with HD anyway. Not necessarily modern graphics, modern textures, let's say, right? Announcing the delay, the development team said they needed extra time to test the game's various modes, and it sounds like they want to expand the scope of the reboot too. When we set out to re-release the original Age of Empires, we had many debates over the extent of restoration that we should undertake. It's a classic and deserves to be treated with careful reverence, and they're completely right. That's really well said, actually. It's very wise of them to say it like that. At the same time, in a living, thriving genre, the norms continually evolve, technology advances, and player expectations change. This is true for RTS as for any other genre, even though RTS has kind of slowed down in recent years. How can we modernize the game while preserving the fun, discovery, and magic of the first experience? To the end, rather than a final release of AoE Definitive Edition on October 19th, we will instead be inviting thousands more players from the community into our closed beta between now and launch to allow for more in-depth testing across single-player campaign, multiplayer balance, fine-tuning the lobby, etc. Hardly ideal. However, it means that there is definitely going to be some improved experience, and you don't want something shoddy to come out. I'd rather be truthful and actually put out what they plan to put out, and that'll be that. So with that, you've been listening to ShowX on VTLibrussians.com. You can check out the art contest. Go to www.VTLibrussians.com, go to the forums at the top, and go to the ShowX board. Take part in the art contest. We have 5 entries so far, but it doesn't really count because they're all from me. So please do go take part. It's awesome fun, and don't make me be all alone in the art contest. Follow us on twitter.com/DocDead for Mr. Wayne, twitter.com/GoHex for myself, and twitter.com/VTWShowX for the show itself, where we put all the latest podcasts and such up there and when we're live. But our personal accounts are just for our own personal tweets. You can also send in emails to the show at showx@vtwproductions.com. Much appreciated if you do. You can donate to the show. The other way you can support us in a monetary way. So it costs money to have these fancy microphones with a lovely quality, to have the software we need to be able to run the show, and to have the internet that we need to be able to actually host our servers, etc. That costs money as well. And all this stuff costs money, and you know, that would come out of our pockets, or it wouldn't happen. And so we set up a Patreon so that we can have at least some of the burden alleviated by the fans. And last year, we were very happy to have all of the costs of last year were covered by our fans, and that was so very much appreciated. We managed to save enough money to actually pay all of our server costs at once for the whole station, not just ShowX. And this year we've got a good amount coming in as well, but we were not quite on track for covering it entirely. So anything you can do, even $1 a month or whatever, would be fantastic. Right, you have been listening to ShowX on VTProductions.com. Thanks to all the different news sources, thanks to Leo for the music, and thanks to you, the listeners, for tuning in and keeping us company. And thanks for sticking through the technical difficulties that are abound during a Ken version of ShowX. You have listened to ShowX on VTProductions.com. We will see you next week.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.